voters share concerns and issues on candidates.
U Iowa helps students stay involved.
Iowa women's basketball finds themselves in a fight against Northwestern.
The sun is back, but for how long? I'll have that answer in weather.
All that and more
Coming up right now on DITV.
Good morning from Iowa City. It is Monday, January 29th. I'm Isabel Thier.
And I'm Sam Kupras, and the third member of our team, Felicity Menning, is live outside to tell us today's weather story. Felicity, is the nice weather from yesterday here to stay?
It sure is. The sun is finally back. It's time to break out those lighter layers, but don't pack away your winter coats yet, because we will see a bit of colder weather throughout the week. I'm here outside the Adler building where it is currently sunny and 32 degrees. The temps will rise to a high of 45 degrees and dip down to a low of 30 tonight. Tomorrow it's going to rise all the way up to 48 degrees with clear skies. I'll have more updates later on, but from now on I'm going to send it back to you guys in the studio.
The Johnson County League of Women Voters held an open forum last night for Iowa City Council District C candidates. DITV digital liaison Jordan Tovar was there gathering the thoughts of candidates.
And inside here at the Iowa City Senior Center, residents of District C would pose their questions to the two candidates that remain on hot-button issues like the housing crisis.
Affordable housing absolutely is one of the main things, and I think the city is doing a lot of good to approach that, but I think we can widen our array of tools and learn from other places around the country and around the world.
And what we should focus on, affordable housing has been a big issue that the community has really has a desire to impact.
With recent state legislation, Nusser had a message of working with the state, but Wyline, not so much.
We do not need to put a target on our backs. We need to avoid further state and federal intervention. And that means that we have to go along and figure out how we can deal with the legislation coming down by the state.
I said earlier, a mindset of pre-compliance, like, okay, we are going to have to pit communities against each other. We are going to have to throw our hands up and say, there's nothing we can do. We kind of just have to go along with what the state or the federal government is doing. I think that we can get more creative with it. I think that there are models around the world.
As the questions started to lessen, they brought the issues to a national level, including immigration concerns.
I don't know how the Iowa City Police is going to be able to deal with it. I know that I would like to be part of those discussions. I know that I would like to value the individuals and show support for all of our community.
ICE should not exist, and I think that ICE is a terrorist organization in the United States that separates families, and I've seen the real impact that it has had on our local level.
Now that the candidates have made their points, it's up to the residents of District C now to decide who will win the primary, which will take place on February 4th. From the Iowa City Senior Center, Jordan Tovar, DITV.
Iowa lawmakers advanced 3 important bills on Monday.
DITV's Julia Rhodes is live in the newsroom with details about these potential changes.
Thanks, guys. Iowa lawmakers advanced 3 new bills that may affect education, healthcare, and crime throughout the state. The first bill would require public schools to display the national and state motto in all school buildings and have 2 minutes of silent time before saying the Pledge of Allegiance each day. The legislature cannot compel speech, however, and individuals may choose to not participate in the Pledge of Allegiance. The second bill would require all healthcare providers to establish and disclose the discounted cash price that the provider will accept for specific healthcare services. The bill requires that the cash price be available for all people covered by insurance as well as uninsured individuals. The third and final bill would make concealing one's identity to commit a crime worsen the criminal sentence for the offense. Wearing a mask or other clothing to help aid in committing the crime will raise the criminal offense by 1 degree higher than the underlying offense. These are just a few of the many bills being seen in Iowa this January. Now we're going to stay in Iowa City with Mark Fortunato, who is live at the Anglert with an upcoming festival.
Thanks, guys. And as you can see behind me, one of Iowa's iconic theaters, the Anglert, is gearing up for a festival coming downtown. The Anglert is just one location where X Marks the Arts, a free admission event, will be showcasing local artists and shows. The event is an open invitation to anyone interested in experiencing the Iowa City arts culture. Businesses like Elray's and Gabe's will host a lineup of concerts, while Film Scene will screen free movies and productions. The festival will also feature literacy heritage of Iowa City, with Prairie Lights in the Iowa City Public Library hosting readings from local authors. X Marks the Arts will take place from February 18th to the 22nd. Back to you in the studio.
The University of Iowa held its Engagement Fest on Tuesday. Students and faculty gathered to introduce students to new potential ways to get involved on campus. The Engagement Fest is held at the start of every semester in order to give new and returning students a chance to learn about different organizations and opportunities. The groups are given a chance to recruit and mingle with potential new participants.
Getting involved in other ways throughout the community is definitely a good way to feel more connected to the Iowa City.
Put yourself out there and get involved as much as you can. People want to help you, they want you to be involved. Everybody loves having a lot of members in their org. They'll want you there, so just put yourself out there.
University-sponsored organizations gather at the Iowa Memorial Union once a semester for a chance to meet students and spread the word about their opportunities. As the new semester begins, students of all levels may wonder what's in store for them. DITV's James McCurtis met with some of these students to get both questions and answers.
Every year, thousands of students come to the University of Iowa, and with that come 1,000 more questions from underclassmen.
Many look forward to coming back on campus to start new clubs or meet new friends, but for others, it can be a reminder of how hard getting involved can be.
It'd be nice if there was like an easier way, I guess, to just kind of find new things to do on campus and find new people to hang out with.
Whether it be nerves or a busy schedule, sometimes new students find it impossible to take that first step toward finding new people or activities on campus. But sometimes, the best solution is the simplest.
You have to be kind of outgoing and go out of your comfort zone a little bit. Putting myself out there in class, talking to more people.
Stepping out of their comfort zone may be what some students need to find others. Some may find more success getting involved sooner rather than later.
It's really important to get connected early on campus because me personally, it's really easy to wait to do that kind of thing, and then it gets harder as you go on.
College can also be a place of self-discovery with so much time to explore your interests. Using that time to reevaluate your goals may prove beneficial as well.
We're literally on top of the world. We go to a great institution. We have so much opportunity. Use it. There's so much free opportunity. Well, you're paying for it, but take advantage of it.
Even after classes end, the learning doesn't stop as students discover more about themselves.
As these students continue, many more questions will come, yet even more answers will await them. From the University of Iowa, James McCurtis, DITV.
The Wedge Pizzeria has relocated to downtown Iowa City. The Wedge has been a fan favorite since 1999 and serves pizza by the slice. It offers over 50 toppings and both gluten-free and vegan options. Co-owner Regina Miller speaks about why the Wedge is more than just a typical pizza place.
I really like that we're different from everybody else. I really like that we have that selection and that people can get creative.
Miller and staff pride themselves on offering fresh ingredients, including sauce from scratch and hand-grated cheese. The Wedge was once located on Riverside Drive, but can now be found next to Joe's in the former Bender studio. The Wedge is open every day and is ready to serve locals and students.
And coming up later, January 29th marks the National Day for one of the world's oldest hobbies.
Also, the week ahead in weather and more updates on Hawkeye sports. And stay tuned for a new episode of The Update.
All that and more right after the break.
In Iowa City, history is being made every day. DITV is capturing it all. Politics, sports, and art. Local, state, and nationwide. In front of the camera, behind the scenes, DITV.
DITV.
DITV. DITV. DITV.
DITV Sports.
DITV. DITV.
Is capturing history.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in to the DailyIowan.com or listening on KRUI 89.7 FM. Now let's take a look outside with Felicity for the forecast for the week ahead.
Thanks, guys. It looks like the bright and sunny sun is leaving us after today. Looking ahead to Friday, we'll need to whip out the umbrellas and raincoats because there's a 75% chance of rain. Friday will reach up to the high 40s and drop down to the 20s. Saturday will be similar in temperatures, but instead of blessing us with rain, we will be blown away by the wind. Sunday will remind us of today's weather with highs in the 50s, but the sun will be covered by clouds. The temperatures will dip back down on Monday and Tuesday with highs both in the 40s and lows in the 30s and 20s. That's all for weather. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Felicity. I'm sure happy that the temps are warming up. I was not a fan of the -degree weather.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad that I'm able to substitute my winter coat for maybe just a sweatshirt.
Me too. I like my sweatshirt weather. So it's been a big weekend for the Hawkeye sports.
Now, Izzy, I know there was a big basketball game last night, but I just wasn't able to catch it, unfortunately.
Me neither, but I heard it was a good one.
I know. I'm hoping that DITV Sports' Elise Gann can fill us in about what we missed. Elise?
Thanks, guys. The Iowa women's basketball team welcomed back a key player as they took the floor last night. DITV News Director Johnny Valtman has the impact of said player and if the Hawkeyes could win back-to-back games.
The Iowa Hawkeyes finally returned home to Carver Hawkeye Arena for a Big Ten matchup against the Northwestern Wildcats. Returning to the floor for the first time in 2 games was Hannah Stolke, who was out with a concussion.
It was just a new sense of appreciation and that was awful. I don't want to sit out, all the things.
Stolke returned with a fire beneath her, leading the team in points and rebounds, along with shooting a perfect 6 of 6 at charity stripe to capture a narrow Hawkeye victory 85-80.
It was amazing. My teammates were getting me the ball all the time. Aaliyah, we have a connection on the court, and that's been really special to build and work on.
Northwestern put up a fight late to make the Hawkeyes sweat, but freshman guard Aliyah Guyton remained cool, coming off the bench and playing an all-around game to keep the Hawkeyes solid on the offense and defensive side of the ball.
Again, it just goes with the mental preparation and all the work that I know that I put in behind the scenes. So it's just a confidence builder, and I feel like if I have all of that and my teammates have that in me too, then I'm set.
The Hawks were double-digit favorites heading into the night, and the narrow win was a mix of over 40 combined fouls, momentum changes, and cold streaks from the Hawks. Despite the troubles, Iowa controlled the paint, sunk their free throws, and marked the game in the win column.
So, yeah, do I wish it would look like as beautiful and pretty? Absolutely. But I'm telling you what, we are learning that, maybe the not as pretty wins are certainly better than a pretty loss.
With this win, the Iowa Hawkeyes now take a big step in the Big Ten standings, and their next test will come against number 4 ranked USC Trojans here on Sunday, where they will retire Caitlin Clark's jersey number up in the rafters. It is due to be a good one, and if the Hawkeyes can carry the momentum from tonight's game into that one, they might be able to pull off an upset. From Carver Hawkeye Arena, Johnny Valtman, DITV Sports.
The Iowa men's basketball team fell to the Ohio State Buckeyes Monday night 82-65. With Owen Freeman and Drew Thelwell racking up 11 points each, the Hawkeyes trailed the Buckeyes by just 4 points at halftime. The game then slipped away as a 26 run by the Buckeyes would turn out to be too much for the Hawks to overcome. Iowa will take an 8-day break before hosting the 10th-ranked Purdue Boilermakers on Tuesday. Iowa Gymnastics freshman star Aurelie Tran captured her second Big Ten Freshman of the Week. She shares the award with Minnesota's Taryn Crump after Tran seized an all-around title with a season-high 39.475. She also had a season-high on both vault and floor. On beam, she tied her season best. She ranks 26th nationally in all-around and is the 5th Hawkeye to earn the honor multiple times in a season. That's all I have for Hawkeye Sports, so I'll send it back to you guys at the desk.
Well, Sam, that is flipping awesome.
That is flipping awesome. I'm glad to hear some continued success from Hawkeye Sports.
I love hearing that. In gymnastics, it's always fun to watch, and that's my favorite part.
That's awesome. Well, Izzy, I have a question for you. Okay. Are you by chance looking for a new hobby?
I am.
Well, that's perfect. Well, this is just your sign, because today is National Puzzle Day. Jigsaw puzzles originated in the 1760s in Europe. And Sudoku, most recently, was created in 1979 in Indianapolis, Indiana. And Izzy, did you know that not only puzzles are challenging, but they're also satisfying, but studies show that puzzles can reduce stress and sharpen your cognitive skills. Isn't that awesome?
Yes, I love puzzles, but thank you for joining us online or listening on KRUI 89.7 FM.
We are here live from Iowa City every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8:30 a.m.
For Felicity Menning, Elise Gannon, I'm Isabel Thier. See you again.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the update. I know it's been a while from the last time we saw each other, as it was before the election, and now the game has changed. A new administration, new House, new Senate, new legislative sessions all underway, and of course the world is continuing to turn. But we'd like to welcome you back to the update, your home for news and politics, local to nationwide. We're keeping you up to date, and as I've said, it has been a busy week. In fact, I got to run out of here soon to go cover a story, so we'll get right into it. We're going to be tossing it over to Jordan Tovar, who is missing. We had to shoot this in fragments, but he will give you an update on what's going on here in Iowa City.
Away in Iowa City for a vacant seat on the City Council. Iowa City residents in District C are the only ones who can vote for the February 4th primary. Residents who live in downtown Iowa City and some northern areas past the University of Iowa campus can vote in the primary. Ross Nusser, Oliver Whelan, Sharon DeGraw are competing for the spot Andrew Dunn once held, though as of Sunday, DeGraw had dropped out of the race for the vacant seat. And on Monday night, the candidates that remain held an open forum to introduce themselves to the public. In attendance was myself, who gathered the thoughts of the public and the candidates. And inside here at the Iowa City Senior Center, residents of District C would pose their questions to the two candidates that remain on hot-button issues like the housing crisis.
Affordable housing absolutely is one of the main things, and I think the city is doing a lot of good to approach that, but I think we can widen our array of tools and learn from other places around the country and around the world.
And what we should focus on, affordable housing has been a big issue that the community has really has a desire to impact.
With recent state legislation, Nusser had a message of working with the state, but Wyline, not so much.
We do not need to put a target on our backs. We need to avoid further state and federal intervention. And that means that we have to go along and figure out how we can deal with the legislation coming down by the state.
I said earlier, a mindset of pre-compliance, like, okay, we are going to have to pit communities against each other. We are going to have to throw our hands up and say, there's nothing we can do. We kind of just have to go along with what the state or the federal government is doing. I think that we can get more creative with it. I think that there are models around the world.
As the questions started to lessen, they brought the issues to a national level, including immigration concerns.
I don't know how the Iowa City Police is going to be able to deal with it. I know that I would like to be part of those discussions. I know that I would like to value the individuals and show support for all of our community.
ICE should not exist, and I think that ICE is a terrorist organization in the United States that separates families, and I've seen the real impact that it has had on our local level.
Now that the candidates have made their points, it's up to the residents of District C now to decide who will win the primary, which will take place on February 4th. From the Iowa City Senior Center, Jordan Tovar, DITV.
Thanks, Jordan. And expanding our look, we're going to be going just here from Iowa City to the entire state of Iowa and in Des Moines. The Iowa legislative session is now in full swing, and they are getting to work out there. One of the newest bills is House Study Bill 80, which includes a 5-year pause on new casino licenses in the state. House Study Bill 80 is similar to Senate File 76, which looks to enact the same pause on gambling licenses. The last pause on gaming licenses ended on July 1st. And taking a look at some of the other bills, a House Study Bill 15, which looks to criminalize the smuggling of non-citizens into the U.S. for either personal gain or to hide them from law enforcement. Being caught in the act would result in a felony charge. This bill was introduced earlier this month and advanced from subcommittee to House Judiciary Committee on last Wednesday. The Iowa Senate advanced 2 bills on January 21st. The first bill would get rid of police review boards in Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, Dubuque, Coralville, and University Heights. These groups evaluate complaints made about police misconduct and discipline. The goal is to make the appeal process fair for police officers who are fired, suspended, or demoted. The second bill would prohibit drivers from using their phones while operating their vehicles, with a few exceptions, such as when the car comes to a complete stop or if drivers are turning the device off. To stop people from distracted driving, anyone found guilty of violating this hands-free driving bill will be convicted of a simple misdemeanor. And I'm not sure if you caught it or not, but I was actually in Des Moines covering the first 2 days of the Iowa legislative session, and the condition of the state address by Kim Reynolds, that was a major point she made. But now we're going to be jumping out of Iowa into the
rest of the country, we'll be sending it over to DITV Assistant News Director Jace Bertrand, who has what's going on around the country and the world.
Thanks, Johnny. And as the country heads towards an uncertain and shaky second term for President Trump, other shakeups are occurring on the world stage. Over the weekend, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol was indicted on charges of insurrection after declaring a failed status of martial law in the country last month. He is the first president in the country's history to face such charges, and if found guilty, he faces death or life in prison. The defense minister, police chief, and other military commanders are facing similar charges for their involvement in the plot. Supporters of Yoon began violently protesting after the charges were announced, signaling a continuation of the political turmoil in the country. And in Africa, two different civil wars are causing thousands of immigrants to flee their homes. The largest city in the Congo and the largest hub in East Africa is under siege by rebel forces backed by neighboring Rwanda. Goma is home to 2 million people and houses much of the production of the minerals that power the rest of the world's technology. The civil war has dipped into ethnic conflict at times, forcing many to pick sides or flee to neighboring countries. The alleged capture of Goma is a drastic escalation in a war that has been raging since 2012, but it increased intensity in 2022. Meanwhile, in Sudan, 70 people were killed in an attack on El Fashir. The attack targeted the only functional hospital in the city, which has seen combat between the Sudanese military and the rebel Rapid Support Force. Local officials are blaming rebels for the attack, and the Saudi Arabian government has condemned it as a violation of international law. Previous U.S. assessment has declared that the RSF are committing a genocide in Sudan, yet this has done little to prevent the fighting. A lot of news is coming out over the east side of the weekend, and this is a grim reminder to us that America is not the center of the world. So right now we're going to send it back to Johnny for more.
But we're now going to be going into D.C. with the White House, and this is a new segment, a White House update, just keeping track of what President Donald Trump is doing. And the new administration entered a back-and-forth match with Colombia over the weekend due to deportations. The U.S. military flights carrying deportees to Colombia were rejected, despite Colombian President Gustavo Petro approving the flights prior to takeoff. It's a 25% tariff on Colombia, and if the country did not follow through with their half of the agreement. The U.S. also suspended visa processing in Colombia late Sunday night. Petro reached an agreement with the United States to allow the planes to land in Colombia and deliver the deportees. As President Trump begins his new term, he now awaits the Senate approval of his cabinet picks. As of now, Marco Rubio, John Ratcliffe, and Kristi Noem have passed the Senate vote and will take on their cabinet positions. Yet Trump's latest pick, Pete Hegseth for Secretary of Defense, faced stiff opposition. In fact, the vote came down to a tie-breaking vote by Vice President J.D. Vance, who cast the tie-breaking vote in the Senate to approve of Hegseth.
Help you God, so help me God. Congratulations, Mr. Secretary.
3 Republicans voted no to Hegseth's nomination, including former Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Hegseth, the former Fox News host and veteran, has been accused of sexual misconduct and alcoholism prior to his selection.
Or the Majority Leader or the Minority Leader, I think they've all come to recognize that Lisa Murkowski does her homework and does what she thinks is right for her constituents and for the right reasons.
On his first day Monday, Hegseth awaits further executive orders of removing DEI in the Pentagon, bringing back troops who were dismissed because of COVID mandates, continuing to secure the border, and more.
We're going to hold people accountable. I know the chairman agrees with that. The lawful orders of the President of the United States will be executed inside this Defense Department swiftly and without excuse.
A lot going on in the White House, but just across the way over in D.C., we're also going to be taking a look at Capitol Hill. And now this is another new segment putting the microscope on Congress and see what they're doing. First, in the U.S. House of Representatives, 4 North Carolina Republicans are pushing to block non-citizens from being counted for the nationwide apportionment of House seats and Electoral College votes. While the bill passed the House last May, it stalled in the Senate. With the new Senate and the current administration's priorities, traction for the bill could pick up. Now over to the Senate, 47 members of a Democratic caucus have signed on to condemn President Trump's pardons for those charged with a crime on the January 6th riot on the Capitol. Over 1,600 were pardoned by the president, some of which who were convicted and serving jail time. The resolution would just be a proclamation that the caucus made up of Democrats and independents do not approve of the pardons. Republicans in the Senate are wanting an open committee vote for the confirmation of Tulsi Gabbard. Gabbard is up for the Director of National Intelligence and is among the boat of controversial picks with bipartisan skepticism. An open Senate Intelligence Committee vote would have the members vote in public instead of the usual private setting. With a split of 9 Republicans and 8 Democrats, Republicans are fearing that one vote that could flip would stop Gabbert's nomination from ever hitting the Senate floor. And with all that's going on right now, we were thinking, what do we keep? What did we get rid of? But something we still want to keep up, and we are still doing, is poll watch. So we're going to send it over to Joan Tovar, and he's going to be seeing what people are thinking of all these changes in America.
As you all know, the presidential election is obviously over, but that doesn't mean that the polls are stopping anytime soon. We can still look at things like approval rating, favorability, and even a super early look ahead to 2028. Starting off first here, despite numerous controversial executive orders, President Donald Trump currently holds a positive favorability rating according to one poll. According to a survey done by Echelon Insights, President Trump holds a positive favorability rating of 50 to 48% in the early stages of his second stint, though the pollsters at YouGov gathered a different set of results that had the opposite result for 47. Trump holds a negative approval rating, trailing behind 50 to 47% in this poll. And it still might seem like a lifetime away, but 2028 is going to get here quicker than you think. In hypothetical situations for the presidential race, SoCal Strategies presented 4 different Democratic nominees against an assumed Republican nominee and current VP J.D. Vance. The Democratic nominees presented were Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, California Governor Gavin Newsom, and last but not least, former Vice President Kamala Harris, who ran in 2024 against Donald Trump but lost. Though I mentioned her last, Harris was the only one to come out on top of Vance, edging him out 43 to 41%. That's all I've got for the polls this week, but we're going to send it out for some more factual information to Jace with Fact Check.
Thanks, Jordan. And in light of President Trump's visit to California last week, I think it's important to look at the truth of what's occurring during these wildfires. After dozens of fire hydrants went dry during early attempts to fight the Palisades fire, dozens of conservative pundits, including the president and African national Elon Musk, claimed that California had been mismanaging their water supply due to drought restrictions. In reality, several reservoirs had been reported as being more than adequately full, and it was not a lack of water that caused the hydrants to run dry, but rather the sudden amount of stress that was put onto them all at once. The system simply couldn't handle all that pressure. And despite Trump's claims that California is dumping thousands of gallons of water into the Pacific Ocean, Los Angeles has enough water saved up to fit the city's needs for 3 years, and the water up north that Trump wants to be diverted to Los Angeles is currently being used by the state's agricultural base, which was one of President Trump's largest voting blocks in the 2024 election. And unfortunately, we can no longer hold our breaths waiting for a convicted criminal and foreign billionaire to tell us the truth, so I'm sure I'm going to have no issue finding more facts to check. But for now, let's send it back to Johnny to wrap us up.
Thanks, Jace. A lot happening. It's good that we still have Fact Check, keeping the facts straight. And now we are getting into another new segment we're bringing this semester. It's what to look out for in the coming week. With a whirlwind of events, as you've seen, filling up the news cycle, we're going to give you what to look out for and watch in the coming week. Continue signing executive orders in the coming week. After a wave of them from his first week in office, he's turning attention away from the border and to the military. Some orders may include reinstating troops kicked out for refusing COVID-19 vaccines, reevaluating transgender members in the military, and potentially more repeals for diversity programs. Speaking of which, bills regarding vaccines are coming up in state houses across the country. More than 15 states have bills around restructuring current legislation around vaccines. This could include religious exemptions from immunization updates, new state-level vaccine injury databases, or what medical providers have to tell patients about shots. This comes with Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s Senate confirmation hearing coming up soon, as he is slated to become the Trump administration's Secretary of Health and Human Services. He has previously stated that vaccines are not safe, but is now repositioning himself with these statements ahead of the hearing. And of course, we'll be keeping an eye on the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas as hostages continue to be returned and Palestinians are returning to Gaza. And with that, folks, we'd like to thank you for tuning into the update tonight. We'll find all your news and politics. Tune in next week for more updates from local level to the nationwide level. And of course, we'll have more of a fuller staff. Jordan will be rejoining me up here. Kind of a hectic week, still getting back in the swing of things. But folks, it is so great to be back and keeping you up to date. For the update, I'm Johnny Valtman. Have a wonderful night.